What if the real teachings of Jesus were deliberately hidden from you? What if the church twisted his original message, turning spiritual freedom into blind obedience and sacred truths into dogma designed to control? Today you'll discover the 8 forbidden teachings of Jesus, teachings so powerful they threatened an empire and have been intentionally concealed for centuries. Because the true gospel wasn't about guilt or sin. It was about the divine power hidden within your very being. By uncovering these truths, you'll realize that Jesus didn't want disciples, he wanted awakened beings who remembered their inner divinity. As you journey through these revelations, your perception of spirituality, heaven, and even yourself will radically shift. If you're ready to rediscover the authentic message that can purify your soul and awaken your hidden spiritual power, stay with me. And please subscribe to our channel right now to explore even deeper truths that can cleanse your spirit, truths you've never heard before. What if heaven was never meant to be a place you reach after death, but rather a profound state of consciousness available to you at this very moment? We've been taught a story that heaven is distant. Somewhere above the clouds, a paradise you must turn through obedience or rituals prescribed by religious institutions. But Jesus never described heaven as an external reward. He spoke clearly and repeatedly, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is at hand," meaning within immediate reach. In the suppressed scriptures, especially the Gospel of Thomas, he emphasized that heaven isn't somewhere you go, it's something you become aware of within yourself. The ancient masters understood this truth. They taught that heaven is a frequency, a vibration of pure love, compassion, and unity with the divine essence. It's a state accessible through inner silence, meditation, deep contemplation, and genuine spiritual insight. Early Christian mystics spoke openly about this reality, experiencing moments of transcendent joy and unity that made traditional descriptions of heaven seem shallow by comparison. But such empowering teachings threatened religious authorities, whose power relied on keeping people spiritually dependent. To maintain control, they transformed heaven from an internal truth into an external destination, ensuring followers remained obedient and fearful of losing their promised reward. The revelation that heaven is here, right now, is deeply transformative. It frees you from perpetual spiritual striving, endless guilt, and the fear of judgment. Heaven, as Jesus truly intended, is the profound peace you feel in moments of authentic love, deep meditation, or genuine self-acceptance. Imagine if you no longer waited passively for paradise after death, but instead actively attuned yourself to this sacred frequency in your daily life. Imagine if you could access heaven not after you die, but right now, through the divine presence already resonating within you. This forbidden teaching, once embraced, shifts your spiritual journey from seeking external salvation to realizing the kingdom within. Are you ready to tune into this divine frequency today? Mary Magdalene was never the sinner or prostitute that history falsely depicted her to be. Instead, she was a profound spiritual master, one who carried the deepest, most sacred teachings of Jesus himself. Her true identity has been obscured for centuries by religious authorities determined to maintain patriarchal control. In reality, Mary Magdalene was not just another follower, she was Jesus' closest spiritual companion, a bearer of profound inner wisdom known as Gnosis. The early Christian texts, especially the long-suppressed Gospel of Mary, depict her as uniquely enlightened. In these hidden scriptures, Jesus openly praised her spiritual clarity, calling her the one who knows all things and entrusting her with teachings he shared with no one else. Far from a passive bystander, Mary Magdalene represented the sacred feminine, the divine counterpart whose wisdom was crucial for the balanced awakening of humanity. But her prominence posed a direct threat to church leaders who sought absolute authority over spiritual knowledge. To neutralize this threat, they deliberately distorted her image, casting her as a fallen woman and removing her teachings from the official Gospels. Yet truth cannot remain buried forever today. Her teachings resurface, resonating deeply within those seeking balance, healing, and spiritual awakening. Mary Magdalene symbolizes the return of lost wisdom, the feminine spiritual principles of intuition, compassion, and direct revelation, elements crucially needed in our world today. Her teachings weren't about obedience or dogma, they were about direct inner knowing and experiencing divine union firsthand. To acknowledge Mary Magdalene is to reclaim the suppressed half of our spiritual heritage, a wisdom that reconnects humanity with divine wholeness. It's an awakening not just of historical truth, but of your inner self, your intuition, your innate spiritual power. Can you feel her teachings awakening something deep within you? By recognizing Mary Magdalene as she truly was, a sacred keeper of hidden wisdom, you restore a lost balance and step into a deeper, richer understanding of your own spiritual nature. Are you ready to reclaim her sacred wisdom within yourself? Have you ever felt a strange familiarity when visiting a place you've never been or meeting someone you've never known? This intuitive recognition is not mere coincidence, it's an echo from a deeper truth Jesus openly taught: the eternal journey of reincarnation. While modern Christianity insists upon a single lifetime and an ultimate judgment afterward, early followers of Jesus held a radically different view. Jesus himself spoke clearly of reincarnation, referencing prophets like Elijah returning as John the Baptist, hinting at a profound cycle of birth, death, and rebirth designed to evolve the soul. This belief was prevalent among early Gnostic Christians, who viewed death as a schoolroom, life as a sequence of learning opportunities, and death merely as a doorway into another phase of spiritual growth. But such teachings empowered individuals by eliminating fear of eternal punishment, undermining the Church's authority. To preserve their power, religious authorities systematically erased reincarnation from scripture and doctrine, labeling it heresy. Yet, despite their efforts, ancient writings such as the Secret Book of John and other Gnostic texts confirm reincarnation was once a fundamental Christian belief. Understanding reincarnation profoundly transforms your life, shifting the meaning of hardship, suffering, and even death. Every life event becomes meaningful, a necessary lesson rather than arbitrary punishment. Challenges are no longer burdens, they become opportunities for profound spiritual growth. Recognizing the eternal nature of your soul releases fear, empowering you to live boldly, authentically, and fearlessly. You begin to see others differently, not as mere strangers, but as fellow travelers, souls you've encountered before. Life takes on greater depth, purpose, and interconnectedness. Reincarnation isn't just a comforting idea, it's an empowering reality Jesus taught to free humanity from fear and ignorance. Can you imagine how radically your perspective on life changes when you understand that your soul has journeyed countless times, evolving closer to divine awareness with every cycle? Are you prepared now to remember your eternal story and step confidently into your infinite potential? What if Jesus never intended to be worshipped or idolized, but instead came to awaken something profoundly powerful within you? Throughout history, the Church has emphasized Jesus as a divine figure to worship externally, creating an unreachable gap between you and your own divine potential. Yet the hidden truth clearly taught by Jesus in suppressed Gospels is that you hold within you the very same Christ consciousness he embodied. When Jesus proclaimed, "These things I do, you will do also, and even greater," he wasn't making symbolic statements. He was handing humanity a spiritual mirror, inviting each person to see their own reflection of divinity, their inherent power, love, and connection to God. Christ consciousness, as Jesus taught, isn't about religious affiliation or external rituals. It's about realizing your innate unity with the divine source, the profound oneness that exists within every heart. Jesus embodied this awakened state to demonstrate its possibility for all humanity, not as an exception, but as an example. Religious institutions, fearing loss of control, deliberately obscured this truth, transforming Jesus from a spiritual mirror into a distant icon. Worship replaced personal awakening, dependence substituted spiritual empowerment. But reclaiming this original teaching changes everything. Imagine knowing your spiritual journey isn't about becoming perfect through external rules, but about uncovering the perfection already within you. By awakening Christ consciousness, you reclaim inner power, divine love, and an unshakable sense of purpose. Each moment becomes an opportunity for deeper connection with the divine source already present in your breath, thoughts, and actions. Christ consciousness is your birthright, awaiting recognition and activation. To see yourself as a mirror of divine possibility rather than a passive disciple transforms your entire approach to spirituality. Life ceases to be about waiting for external salvation or approval. Instead, it becomes a vibrant journey of inner discovery, personal revelation, and empowered living. Are you ready now to awaken the Christ within yourself, to embrace your true spiritual power, and to realize the divine essence that has always existed inside you, waiting patiently to be remembered? Imagine, just for a moment, if everything you've ever learned about Jesus was subtly twisted to keep you small, obedient, and disconnected from your true spiritual power. What if Jesus never intended to be worshipped from afar or revered as a distant, unreachable icon? The truth, carefully buried by religious authorities, is profoundly empowering. Jesus came to demonstrate the divine potential that exists within each of us. When he declared, "I and the Father are one," he wasn't claiming exclusive rights to divinity. Instead, he was revealing a universal truth, an inner state of unity accessible to anyone willing to awaken. He taught openly that the spiritual essence he embodied, the Christ consciousness, wasn't exclusive to him, but a state each of us can achieve. His message was clear: "These things I do, you will do also, and even greater." But imagine the threat such a message posed to the institutions built on control, hierarchy, and external authority. By positioning Jesus as the sole divine figure, churches established themselves as gatekeepers between humanity and God. They taught dependence rather than empowerment, obedience rather than inner revelation. Yet the authentic teachings of Jesus, hidden in suppressed scriptures, consistently point to awakening the divine within. Christ consciousness is about recognizing that the divine spark in Jesus is the same spark glowing within you. His true message wasn't about worship. It was about reflection, seeing yourself as a mirror reflecting divine truth. To awaken your inner Christ is to embody unconditional love, boundless compassion, and profound spiritual wisdom. It means living from a place of empowered awareness, recognizing your unity with the universe, and understanding that your greatest spiritual teacher resides not outside of you, but within. When you grasp this hidden truth, your entire life transforms. Fear, guilt, and separation dissolve, replaced by a deep knowing of your sacred purpose. The path of awakening becomes clear, not as disrespect to an idolized figure, but as a journey of self-minus realization, spiritual freedom, and inner sovereignty. Are you finally ready to embrace this powerful truth and awaken the Christ consciousness that has always been alive within you? Have you ever wondered why traditional religion consistently portrays God as distant, external, or unreachable? For centuries, we've been conditioned to believe that the divine exists somewhere outside ourselves, high above us, beyond reach in some celestial realm. Yet this idea of a remote deity observing humanity from afar was never the core teaching of Jesus. In the Forbidden Teachings, he revealed a profound truth: God is not an external being separate from creation. God is the very essence of being itself. Every breath you take, every heartbeat, every moment of awareness is divine. God is the silent intelligence behind your thoughts, the pulse of life within your veins, the source of consciousness itself. The earliest mystical Christians understood this clearly. They described God not as an entity you worship externally, but as the fundamental, omnipresent essence that animates all existence. Jesus openly taught that the kingdom of heaven, or divine presence, is within you, fully accessible in every moment. Such a teaching was revolutionary and deeply threatening to religious institutions. It erased the need for churches, rituals, priests, or mediators. If God is already fully present within your very being, why seek validation or permission externally? So this liberating truth was deliberately concealed, replaced by doctrines of separation, sin, and external judgment. But the suppressed scriptures, the Gnostic Gospels, and hidden teachings consistently affirm your inner divinity, your inseparable unity with God. To understand God as being itself transforms your spiritual experience. Suddenly, divine connection is no longer something you strive for externally. It is something you recognize internally, something you've always carried within. Realizing this truth dissolves the illusion of separation, reconnecting you with profound peace, empowerment, and spiritual authenticity. Every moment of life becomes sacred. Ordinary experiences transform into opportunities for divine communion. Your daily actions, thoughts, and feelings become expressions of divine creativity and love. Imagine living life knowing that God is not distant or absent, but immediately present, always accessible within you. How different would your relationships, your work, your sense of purpose become? Are you ready at last to reconnect with the divine truth hidden in plain sight, recognizing God not as a distant deity, but as the essence of your very being? Have you ever wondered why prayers often seem to go unanswered, leaving you feeling isolated or forgotten by the divine? Traditional religion teaches prayer as a form of petition, a plea to an external deity. asking for favors, forgiveness, or protection. Yet the authentic teachings of Jesus, teachings carefully hidden by religious institutions, reveal a profoundly different purpose for prayer. Prayer was never intended as mere supplication or bargaining. It was always designed as a powerful spiritual activation. Jesus taught that genuine prayer isn't about begging or waiting for external intervention. It's about consciously aligning your inner frequency with divine consciousness itself. Prayer, as originally taught, is a sacred technique for activating the divine potential within your being. In ancient scriptures suppressed by the Church, Jesus described prayer not as passive hoping, but as intentional atonement and active practice to awaken your inner awareness, shift your consciousness, and realize your unity with the divine source. When he instructed his followers to pray without ceasing, he wasn't suggesting continuous petitioning, but rather continuous mid-action. Early Christian mystics understood their prayers were inner dialogues of profound awakening, used to tune their hearts and minds into alignment with divine truth. Yet this powerful understanding posed a threat to religious hierarchies dependent on external authority. If people realize prayer's true power, its capacity to activate personal spiritual insight, institutions built upon external control would lose their influence. Thus, prayer was systematically redefined into passive supplication rather than empowering inner activation. But reclaiming prayer's original purpose transforms your entire spiritual experience. Imagine approaching prayer not as a desperate request, but as a direct method for activating your inner power, clarity, and divine connection. Prayer becomes a sacred technology, an internal practice of alignment, meditation, intention, and spiritual empowerment. Each prayerful moment becomes a conscious act of awakening, shifting you into greater spiritual clarity, profound insight, and inner peace. Are you ready now to embrace prayer in its authentic form, not as passive petition but as active spiritual awakening? For centuries, religion has taught you to look outward, to seek salvation, wisdom, and divine connection from external sources. You've been conditioned to see yourself as small, dependent, needing intermediaries or authorities to access spiritual truth. But the forbidden teachings of Jesus, the truths deliberately hidden from you, reveal that you, yourself, are the sacred gate to the kingdom. Jesus openly declared, "The kingdom of heaven is within you." He wasn't speaking metaphorically, he meant it literally. You carry within you the divine portal, the gateway to infinite love, profound wisdom, and limitless spiritual power. No temple, no priest, no external authority can grant access to what you inherently possess. Jesus taught clearly and repeatedly that your own inner consciousness is the only authentic entrance into spiritual awakening. You don't need permission or validation from religious hierarchies. The key is your own awareness. The original spiritual teachings describe specific practices: deep meditation, conscious breathing, inner contemplation that activate and open your internal gateway, allowing direct access to divine understanding. Yet this empowering message threatened established religious structures. If individuals recognize their innate power to access the divine directly, external institutions built upon hierarchy, obedience, and control would crumble. Therefore, this liberating truth was hidden beneath centuries of dogma and external dependence. Rediscovering your inner gate fundamentally transforms your spiritual journey. Spirituality ceases to be external seeking and becomes internal discovery. Life is no longer about passively awaiting external salvation, it's about actively cultivating inner mastery. Your breath, your stillness, your mindful awareness, these become your sacred keys. Every challenge you face, every moment of joy or difficulty becomes an opportunity to deepen your mastery of the inner kingdom. Recognizing yourself as the gate empowers profound spiritual independence and authentic awakening. The divine connection you seek is already yours, waiting patiently within. Are you ready now to reclaim your spiritual sovereignty, master your inner kingdom, and step confidently through the gate you have always possessed? Today, you've uncovered truths once deliberately hidden, teachings powerful enough to awaken your inner divinity, transform your understanding of spirituality, and free you from external dependence. These forbidden teachings weren't merely suppressed out of ignorance or misunderstanding, they were hidden because they carried profound liberation. You now realize that heaven is not distant, it's a sacred frequency within. Mary Magdalene was not fallen, she was the keeper of lost wisdom. Reincarnation reveals your soul's eternal journey. Christ consciousness is already yours. To awaken God is the essence of your very being. Prayer activates inner power, and most importantly, you yourself. Your spiritual journey no longer depends on external authority, it's a personal path of inner mastery and awakening. You're here to blindly follow your here to awaken fully and remember who you truly are. If these teachings resonated deeply within your heart, please like, subscribe, and join Mystica Nexus. Together, let's continue to explore hidden truths, awaken our inner power, and rediscover spiritual wisdom you weren't ever meant to forget. Remember, the kingdom has always been within you, it's time to claim it.